Hello everyone, my name is Manish Shrestha and I'm from Nepal. I would like to welcome you all to this presentation on the history of architecture in Nepal. We will explore the rich architectural heritage of Nepal and trace its evolution from ancient times to the modern era. Well, Nepal's architecture is a testament of Nepal's diverse culture, religious and historical influences. From ancient stupas to intricate palaces, the structures they tell us stories of Nepal's past and its people's devotion. Well, in the earliest periods, the Gopals and the Mahispals, they were the very first dynasties in Nepal. They established some primitive settlements. Then came the Kiratas, who introduced some fortified structures and early shrines, and they basically laid a foundation for Nepal's architectural journey, for Nepal's architecture to grow. Then, the Lichchavi period from 5th to the 9th century, it marked some very significant architectural development, which was primarily influenced by the Gupta art. And some notable structures during this time were the Changunarayan temple on the bottom left. And these structures and constructions, they were typically made in the Shikhar style, which basically means something that looks like a mountain. We can see some extensive use of stone and wooden elements in these constructions, and this is a typical example of what is called or known as an akhi chal. And you can see the patterns, the intricate detailed patterns in this particular wooden window, which can be seen in a lot of temples and palaces of the Lichchavi period and also later on. Then came the Thakuri period, which is termed to be the dark period, because during this era, there was some very limited architectural advancements. However, it did serve a purpose of preserving what the Lichchavis of the past had built, and it also set the stage for the next development, which was brought upon by the Mallas during the Malla period from 12th century till the 18th century, and this particular period was the golden age of Nepalese architecture, where in the cities like Kathmandu, Patan and Bhaktapur, they flourished with the construction of tiered temples, palaces, courtyards, and extensive development which reflected a harmonious blend of Hindu and Buddhist influences. And a lot of these sites are still there, still preserved, and even listed in the UNESCO World Heritage Sites. So if you come to Nepal, you should definitely go and visit these places. On the left, we have the Krishna Mandir in the Patan Darbar Square, and on the right, we have the Panchtale Mandir, or it's also called the Nyatapola, in the Bhaktapur Darbar Square. Here are some beautiful pictures of Golden Temple of Kwa Bahal in Patan, in the capital itself, and also the Royal Palace in Patan. I would like to talk a little bit more about this particular construction here, which is, like I mentioned before, called the 5-storied temple, or Panchtale Mandir in Nepali, and it's also called as the Nyatapola Temple, which is the Nepal's tallest pagoda style construction, and it's a symbol of strength and spirituality. Well, according to legends, they say that it was built to honor the fierce tantric goddess called Siddhi Lakshmi, whose power needed to be both worshipped but at the same time contained. And to protect the goddess, the temple and the temple, some powerful stone guardians line the stairs, each said to be 10 times stronger than the one below them. You can see there in the picture. At the bottom we have wrestlers, then next in line or just above them are the elephants, above them are the lions, and at the top we can see some mythical griffins. And despite the massive earthquakes in 1934 and 2015, this architectural feat, the Nyatapola, It stands firm till date, and it's definitely a testament of Nepal's ancient engineering genius and sacred devotion. Then came the Shah and the Rana period from 18th century onwards, where we did not see much changes during the Shah period, because they were basically involved in the restorational efforts of the Malla era structures. And during the Rana period, we can see some European neoclassical styles taking some pictures and spaces. It's evident from palaces like Singhdarbar, which was a fusion of Eastern and Western architectural elements. Like this is the royal palace called Gadi Batika in the Kathmandu Darbar Square, and this is the Singhdarbar, which primarily serves as the governmental office in the present. Now, after the Shah and the Rana era, which is the modern architectural era post 1950, we can see some significant rise in modern concrete and steel structures. Well, the traditional craftsmanship definitely declined, and there have been some revivalist movements which emphasized on the preservation of architectural heritage amidst all these modernizations. It's been quite difficult, to be honest. And this is the Narayanhiti Royal Palace. Now, talking about the architectural codes, that was a brief summary of how Nepal's architecture developed from some primitive settlements all the way till the modern scenario. But throughout these centuries, Nepal did not have a written architectural code, and instead it followed some traditional building knowledge which is passed down through generations, especially among the Newars. I'm also a Newar, guys, of the Kathmandu Valley, but not from the Kathmandu Valley, honestly. Unfortunately. And these traditional elements, like these traditional teachings, they included some very important features that I think we should turn our pages to these times to, get some innovation and ideas, because these structures featured some earthquake resilient features like some timber joints, sloped roofs, flexible brick structures, even some sacred proportionings on the Vastu Shastra, which is included in the Hindu architecture guidelines. Then there were also some strong integration of water systems, open courtyards, and community spaces. Then came the turning point, 1934 and 1988. Massive earthquakes, they shook the Kathmandu Valley and all over Nepal, and it definitely exposed the vulnerabilities of the poorly built structures. Then came the birth of the National Building Code after the 1988 Udaipur earthquake, in which Nepal introduced the National Building Code, finally in 1994, focusing on the seismic safety, fire resistance, material standards, designed for some traditional engineered and non-engineered buildings. However, this was not yet enforced properly, and you see that Dharahara, it collapsed in 2015. Another big earthquake struck Nepal, and Dharahara, which was built in 1832 and stood two big devastating earthquakes, it fell down. This was more than a loss of a monument, it was a wound to Nepalese heart. And then the 2015 NBC code was reinforced, which strengthened some building regulations, which made it compulsory for the code to be complied to every urban construction, and engineers, masons, they were all trained, and some retrofitting and earthquake resilient constructions were promoted. So now it's 2025, and this was back in 2021, where the new Dharahara was rebuilt beside the ruins of the old one. Now this was stronger, taller, and earthquake resistant, and now it stands as a symbol of resilience and hope for the nation. So now Nepal balances a modern engineering with traditional aesthetics and aims to preserve the heritage while ensuring safety. Now we still have a lot to achieve and a lot more to catch up, looking at China, looking at Bangladesh, looking at all the different countries in the world. All of them are very beautiful. But come to Nepal and you'll definitely witness a different kind of beauty, guys. So I welcome you all. Thank you. I'm Manish Shrestha once again, and this was about the history of architecture in Nepal. Thank you, and have a good day. Sorry, it's almost 10 minutes long, but then I think you got a new perspective out of all this. Have a good day, guys. Bye bye. Boom.